Welcome back to Dickin' Around Outdoors. It's great to see everybody. Now, if you're like me, the best way to end a day when you're overlanding or camping is around a campfire. And we also know that starting that campfire may not be the funnest part of the process. So in order to make that easier, I normally take some sort of fire starter. Now today, we've got a collection of fire starters that we've made here at home using items that would most likely have gone into the trash. And we're going to show you those items. We're going to test those. We're going to see how long they burn, how hot they burn, and we're going to see if they could easily light with a ferro rod. And then we're going to share the results with you. So if you're inclined to make some of these at home to take on your next adventure, you'll know which ones would work best for your situation. So stick around and let me show you what we've got. So we have got a bunch of starters today to show you. The first one is a cotton pad soaked in paraffin wax. This is actually candle wax. We've got multiple string types that have been soaked in wax. That is yarn. We've got twine. We've got kitchen straw. And we've got an old shoestring. We've also got some small pine cones that have been soaked in wax. Dryer lint wrapped in wax paper. Dryer lint inside of a toilet paper tube. The same thing wrapped in wax paper. We've got a small cup filled with paper and wax. We've got an egg carton that's filled with matchsticks and wax. We've got the ubiquitous cotton ball wrapped in Vaseline, wax and dryer lint, cardboard and wax, and alcohol-soaked wine corks, which we always have in great supply. The wine corks, that is. First on the list is going to be the cotton ball with the Vaseline. I think this is going to light pretty easily with the ferro rod, so I'm just going to try that first. And there we go. We're going to just let this burn. We're going to time it, and we're going to see how hot it gets. But you could see that that lit very easily. Next up, wax-soaked twine and yarn. And we're going to go ahead and just use a lighter for these. Not nearly as quick to light these. Well, we've got a situation here that's kind of surprising me. The yarn has been burning now for almost 7 minutes, but has never gotten hotter than 200 degrees. So I think that absorbed a tremendous amount of wax, and the wax is burning off. As you can see, there's yarn that doesn't even look like it burns. So I don't know if the acrylic is not burning or not, but I would definitely at this point cross yarn off the list. Next up on the list is the second of our string duos. We've got the kitchen string and we've got the old shoestring. So let's see how those work. As you can see, the strings aren't the easiest to light, but once they get going, they burn well. So we have another unexpected outcome here. This is the shoestring on the right. And as you can see, there's this really odd red liquid running out of the shoestring that we have no idea what that liquid is. All right, on to the toilet paper sleeves. First one is lint, wax, and toilet paper sleeve. Well, that does not want to light. Let's try the one in wax paper. Look at that. Totally different animal. So I'm saying if you're using this method, definitely use the wax paper. Let's see if it burns now. Well, after a very disappointing toilet roll episode, we're going to go ahead and try the cotton pad soaked in wax and the wax paper rolled lint to see how those work. And again, the toilet paper ones, I think this should be something that works very easily. You shouldn't have to work for it. You shouldn't have to fight for it to start. So the toilet paper rolls went away. These two are taking a bit of time to get started, so I'm curious to see how they work so far. The dryer lint, which I expected to do pretty well, has been a very solid, weak performer. Since the dryer lint doobie didn't work, we're going to go ahead and just start a pine cone since we've got a fire going. So we're going to see how the pine cone works. And it seems to be going a bit better than the wax paper and dryer lint did. Although not exactly burning it up, is it? Oh, there we go. 5 minutes in for the pine cone, and it's finally started to come alive a bit. The cotton pad with the wax on it is now at 8.5 minutes. It's still going pretty strongly, so that one's a solid performer. I think the pine cone, if you had it surrounded by some decent tinder, it would work at this point, but it did take quite some time to get going. And that was always the case. The pine cone at 7 minutes was still going pretty hard. We went ahead and threw that into our discard pile, and the two toilet paper rolls ignited quite quickly. So never say never, but I think they were just too much effort to get started to make it to the top of the list today. We've got our two egg carton starters. We've got the egg carton with wax and matchsticks, and the egg carton with dryer lint and wax. So let's see how those burn. As you can see, both of those started off pretty well. I'm curious to see if the matchsticks or the lint burns better. So we'll keep an eye and report back. With just a couple more to go, I think we've got some winners clearly showing up. These are cardboard soaked in paraffin. One has twine wrapped around it. One is just blank. Going to expect that twine really adds some flame to this one. Now, as you can see, the twine wrapped around the cardboard certainly accelerates the fire. I think it makes for a better fire starter. Okay, we're down to the last two. The alcohol-soaked wine cork and shredded paper wax in a candy paper cup. So let's see how these last two do, and then we'll come up with our conclusions. The corkscrew burned quite quickly. We're at about two minutes, and it's nearly done. The paper cup, on the other hand, is going gangbusters still. We got some good heat out of both of these, about 400 degrees. I'm going to say with that corkscrew, you definitely need some tinder to go along with it. On some of these, kindling is fine, but on others, it's definitely going to be some tinder. So after all that testing, we do have a winner. But we also have winners in particular categories, so I'm going to go down that list. But before I do, I just do want to mention that all of these fire starters that we're going to talk about today really will start kindling. They're not made to start big logs, so these are going to replace tinder. You're going to want to start with kindling and move up to the larger logs, even using these fire starters. So, if I were using a camp stove like a firebox or a solo stove, I would go with the twine soaked in paraffin. And the reason I say that is the twine left the least residue when it got done burning. It left just a fine ash, so it burned much cleaner, I think, than everything else. If you're not worried about residue, the kitchen string that was the kitchen string that was soaked in paraffin actually is a great choice as well. They burned roughly 500-600 degrees, both of those, and the string actually burned for over 10 minutes. So that's a great choice. If you want to pack a lot of fire starters in a small space, then I would go with the cotton pads, the makeup remover pads soaked in paraffin. They burned at 600 degrees and lasted 9 minutes. So I think that's a great choice. Another surprising choice for me was the shredded paper in the little candy wrapper soaked in paraffin. That was a real winner. It packs pretty small. That did 500 degrees and lasted for 9 minutes. So I think that's a great fire starter. Before we get to the winner, if you haven't subscribed, please take a moment to hit the subscription button in the lower right hand corner. And thanks to all of you that have subscribed. Now, which fire starter was our winner today? By a long shot, the matchsticks in the egg carton filled with paraffin wax knocked it out of the park. If you're using that to start a fire pit, if you're starting a home fireplace, that is a great fire starter. That burned at 900 degrees and burned well into 10 minutes. So I think that is a killer fire starter. That's the one that I would make if I were taking it to start fire pits. It was easy, it's cheap, the matchsticks are cheap. Definitely the way to go. Just one point. When we were doing this video, you probably noticed that we were in our garage. It's cold and windy outside today, so we did have a fire extinguisher close at all times in the event something went wrong. So just if you are burning a fire when you're out and camping and overlanding, always have some way to extinguish the fire close at hand in case something goes wrong, or when you're done, never leave a fire burning unattended. And as always, take care and we'll see you outdoors.